Welcome back to another endgame study. Take a look at this position in front of you. Black is clearly winning, right? Wrong. Even if he's 2 pawns up, this position is a dead draw with the correct plays from white. Most players wouldn't know how to draw this, so in today's video, we're going to discuss why and how. The key here for white is to exchange his bishop with these 2 pawns, because we know that black is not able to checkmate us using only 1 bishop. So how do we actually make this trade? Well, what makes this draw so tricky is that we need the correct order of moves, because if we had started by moving our bishop over here to e2, we're going to lose all of the chances of drawing the game. Black is going to play bishop to g5, check, and we would move to c2. Now remember, he doesn't have this d3 fork because he's going to lose both of his pawns, which is exactly what we wanted. Our opponent is going to move to e5, putting us at a little zugzwang. We move our bishop to b5, and then black retaliates, moves to f4. Now black, as you can see, is slowly getting ready to promote. So we're going to move to d2, and black king moves to f3. We then give a discovery check on e1. Black king moves to e3. White bishop to e2, bishop to h4, check. White king to d1. And now black pawn to d3. So we move to g4, and now black is going to make room for his other pawn by stepping back over here to d4. And you have no real way of stopping this as white. You could try, but honestly, there is no hope. See? No hope. Instead, if we had played bishop to c2, then congratulations, you're able to draw the game. Isn't just amazing how those 2 really seemingly similar moves, yet one is a losing move while the other one is a winning move? Well, I know, technically drawing, but you get my point, you know what I mean. A draw here is essentially as valuable as a win. Also, just to give a quick note over here, if you had said bishop to b3, congratulations again. That would have also ended the game in a draw. But what's important in the bishop to b3 move is that after black moves to e5, the only drawing move here is going to be bishop to c2. Because let's say you move your bishop over here to c4. Black, again, checks us. We move over to e2. And now black's king is going to go after our bishop with d6. Now, it's not an easy endgame for black, but it's a winning one if your opponent knows what he's doing. We move the bishop somewhere, let's say a6, and now black plays c5, stopping us from coming back to c4. So we move to b7 instead. Black moves pawn to d3, we move to d1, black to e3, we move to f3, and now the black king moves to d4. So we move to e1, black bishop to h4, check. We move back to d1, and now black's king is going to come after the bishop once again, moving to e5. And we see a similar scenario as the one before. Let's play it out. So we can see that the actual drawing move is bishop to c2. But how does this move draw the game? And why is it so different from e2? Well, black still has this g5 check. So we move to e2, and things seem pretty similar to the previous scenario, where the positions of the bishop and the king were swapped. But there is one major key difference. In this position, our bishop is attacking black's d pawn over here, while in the other one, he wasn't on the right diagonal to do that. Now, black can't make a random move and leave that pawn undefended because we're simply going to take it. So his only options are king to e5, pawn to e3, or to shuffle the bishop. Now it's very important for white to keep attacking this d pawn with the bishop. So if black decides to move his own bishop, we're just going to shuffle our bishop between b1 and c2, and sooner or later, black is either going to move his pawn or move his king. If black decides to move the king, again, we need to keep aiming our attack at that pawn and play bishop to b1. Black could play king to f4, and what exactly do we play here? That's right, keep the pressure on that pawn and get our bishop back to c2. Black again can only move the king back to e5 or push the e. If he goes back, the whole scenario is just going to repeat itself over and over and over again. So he's going to be forced to play pawn to e3 at one point, and from now on, I think the draw is very, very clear. We're going to move our bishop to d3 over here, and we're just going to shuffle it back and forth no matter what. King to e5, we can go anywhere we want, and black can't make any progress because of his bishop's inability to kick our king from that light square. So, sooner or later, he's going to move pawn to d3, and we're simply going to capture it, and continue our journey across the board with the bishop. It's a pretty nice fortress from white, if you ask me. So this endgame is really a draw no matter what. From this point, if instead of bishop to g5, black would try pawn to e3, we're just going to move to e2, and we arrive at the same drawing position. If your opponent is going to start by moving his king to e5 first, we need to be a little bit more careful because we can't just shuffle the bishop back and forth blindly. After the black king moves to f4, bringing our bishop back to c2 is actually technically a blunder, and it would lose the game for us. Tell me if you see how. Well, it's because black would be able to control this e2 square by moving to f3. And we can't kick him out with bishop to d1 check because he's simply going to move to f2. And now black has an unstoppable promotion. White moves bishop to h5. Black moves to g5, check. White king to d1, pawn to d3. We move our bishop to g6. Black moves his king to e3. We move to c1. Black king to e2. Discover check, and black promotes next turn. The key to drawing this is that you need to always be ready to create that drawing scenario, no matter how your opponent starts his move sequences. After king to f4 from black, we're going to place our king on e2, and black can't kick it out, so no matter what, he's got the wrong color bishop. I hope you guys like this endgame and learn a little something from it about how to exploit the bishops. Always remember to not give up until the very, very end of the game, because you never know when an opportunity like this might arise. It might just end up in a draw, which, like I said, is almost as good of a win when you compare it to a loss. So remember, if your opponent doesn't know the proper technique, they might just blunder the move, and you can end up in a draw or a win. Always play until the very, very end of the game. Have a great day.